Hello again, everyone. This is Chris Scherr. That's Robert Harding, and this is the Citizen Sports Weekly video where we discuss the hottest topics in sports. We have 3 good topics this week, and with that, we'll dive right in. Syracuse men's basketball team, the struggles continue. A loss to that rambling wreck from Georgia Tech, although more like Syracuse is the rambling wreck than Georgia Tech. And it was ugly, folks. They just can't get it together. They for some reason, they've just hit this wall. And I wrote about it in a column that's online on Thursday. It's in Thursday's edition of the Citizen here in Auburn. And they're not shooting well. Boeheim said that. And Boeheim, look, whatever you want to say about this guy knows the temperature of his team. And he basically said we're not shooting well, and that's why we're not winning. And he's right. And I kind of talked about Trevor Cooney a little bit, how he's cooled off greatly since ACC's play started back in January. And you can talk about the injury to Jeremy Grant a little bit, and that does have an effect on it, but not that much, though. But this team is just not shooting well. They're not playing well, and as a result, they're losing. And here's a team that looked like an easy #1 seed, and it's going to have an easy path to the Final Four, playing in Buffalo and New York City for the NCAAs. But right now, they're barely holding on to a 3 seed, and I think that they're going to have at least get to the semis of the ACC tournament, maybe into the championship game. They have a good chance of even getting a 2 seed, to be honest with you, the way they've been playing. So, what do you think, Robert?
Yeah, this is a topic that we've covered for the last few weeks now, it seems, and they've struggled. They've struggled a lot lately, and most of it's on the offensive end. On defense, they're a terrific defensive team. But in terms of offense, and really, the shooting part of it for me comes down to shot selection. Watching this team as much as we do, the thing that I've noticed more is that, even, some of the players that have done better during this slump, C.J. Fair's an example,
right.
His shot selection, has been okay at times, but questionable at others. And then, you mentioned Trevor Cooney. He's a great example of that. He's predominantly a 3-point shooter, and some of the threes that he takes a little iffy. And so, for me, it comes down to that. And, I think if they can find a way to get, more high percentage shots, that's where Jeremy Grant comes in, because he's good, around the hoop. But that for me is the key, getting high percentage shots, shooting less from outside, unless the opportunities are there. But, they really haven't been, and, they haven't gotten the ball inside enough. Fair takes care of that, but they could do better.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and that's one of the things I do mention in my column today is that their shot selection, dare I say, has been very shoddy. And even when they get open looks, they're just missing them.
Yeah.
And it's if you're a Syracuse fan, you have to be completely perplexed by all this. What's going on with my team? What's going on? And again, there's no really easy fix because you got to make shots. As simple as that. If you got a wide open basket in front of you, you got to make it. And I see them missing shots underneath the basket, inside shots, and it's just, I don't know whether it's something that's just in their minds. It's the fact that it's been a long season and it's starting to catch up to them. Maybe they're a little tired. I don't think it's that, but there's real no plausible explanation why they're taking bad shots, why they're missing open shots, and they got to get it fixed soon because, like I said, they're really wasting a good opportunity to get a good seed in the NCAA tournament in a couple of weeks and maybe making another run to the Final Four.
Yeah. This is it's the perfect time to get it. If you're going to have a slump, it's a good time to do it. As long as you're able to iron out the kinks here, figure out what the issues are, and move forward. Hopefully they'll have Jeremy Grant. It sounds like they'll have Jeremy Grant back for the
Sunday game.
The game Sunday, right? And going into the ACC tournament, of course, and that'll decide their fate. We'll see where they end up.
Yeah. Our next topic is one near and dear to Robert's heart, and that is his Buffalo Bills, who for the last 6 years, I believe, have played 1 regular season game in beautiful Toronto, Ontario, Canada, which none of us debate. It's a wonderful city.
Great city.
We love Toronto. I've been to Toronto many times, have friends in Toronto. It's a great place. But it's not a great place for the Bills to be playing football. The Rogers Center, which is a good place, I think it's a decent place. I think it's underrated for baseball, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay. But for football,
it's a great venue for baseball.
It's not a good venue. And you could say whether the tickets were overpriced or the fact that maybe Toronto is not really a Bills town where you're going to get all those fans coming out to support the Bills, except for Mayor Rob Ford, obviously. He loves the Bills. I mean, we see him wearing a Bills jersey and eating buffalo wings and stuff. So, but I don't think that the Bills have been happy with the way this whole thing has turned out. They've made some money off it, I'm sure, but you know, they've only won one time, and that's it. And that's not the reason why you're going up there. So the Bills decided that they're going to take a year off from going to Toronto, which I think is a good idea. And to be honest with you, I just think they need to end this series permanently. It was a good idea. In theory, it's a good idea, but it just has not worked. And I think there comes a point where you need to say, all right, we're not going to try to force something here. And we need to keep playing games in Buffalo. And yes, the Bills fan support has been sketchy at times too. But again, you can understand because the team hasn't made the playoffs since the Clinton administration. It's been that long, folks, okay? And, you know, and you can understand why Bills fans don't want to come out and pay a lot of money for tickets in Buffalo to see their team play, especially in bad weather come December. So I think the Bills, again, looks like they're going in the right direction on the player personnel front, the coaching front. They're doing the right things, but it's going to take some time. And hopefully the fans will come out and support the team in Buffalo, and they won't have to play in Toronto anymore.
I'll make a couple of points before we move on to our big topic today, which I know that we're both interested in discussing. But, you know, 2 points. One, you know, the NFL should play in Toronto, but I don't think it should be limited to the Buffalo Bills. And, you know, Toronto is a large market. There's obviously interest there. The turnout, at least for the most part, at the regular season games that the Bills have had there over the past 6 seasons, has been okay, you know, for the venue. I mean, you know, you're not going to fit 70,000 in the Rogers Center.
Right.
You know, you're going to fit about 50,000. And so they had 4 of those, 50,000 plus crowds in the 6 games that they've played there. So I think that there's room there. My second point is the Bills shouldn't be playing these games. They should keep their home game. They should have that 8th home game. But if they want to expand, like they had this idea with Toronto, and of course the Rogers family, the company that of course has the name attached to the Rogers Center, they have cut a check for these games every year. And it's a worthwhile venture, at least from the Bills' perspective. But there's visual things like attendance and other factors losing that hurts this. And so, the key thing here though is looking at this Bills in Toronto series. The Bills shouldn't be playing there. The attendance just doesn't add up. The record doesn't add up, and for me, if the Bills want to expand, into a different market, bring the game to Syracuse.
Yeah.
The Carrier Dome is, no greater or lesser a venue than the Rogers Center, I would say, at least in terms of football. And, it's to me, it would be a great opportunity to get into a market where or at least they should know, that they have a solid fan base that you could draw from, Eastern New York and obviously Central New York. And with there's questions about whether the Jets are returning to Cortland. I think it would be a great opportunity to bring something here, whether it's a preseason game, regular season game, whatever you want to do. It would be a great opportunity. But
I agree with you, Robert, and I think that's a great idea. I mean, obviously the ties with Doug Marrone, the former Syracuse football coach, and alum would be great. And the Dome only seating about 50,000 for football, it would be easier to sell out. And I know the market around here. They would go nuts. An NFL game in Syracuse, people would go nuts. I guarantee it would sell out, whether it's a preseason game or a regular season. And if it was a regular season game, it would definitely sell out. I have no doubt. If you played the Bills-Jets game in Syracuse, sell out, no problem, absolutely. Bills-Dolphins would be interesting, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
I might have to make the trip for that one, eh?
Yeah.
But irregardless, the question is the Carrier Dome capable of handling it? I think it could. I think that the physical part of the building is fine, and whether they have the support built in to handle the media, I think they could do that, and also the teams itself, because as you know, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we don't see that the Carrier Dome would have to be able to do hold or whatever to be able to put on an NFL game. So I think that's a great idea. And, I was going to touch upon one thing that you said about with Toronto is that, I'm sure there's some season ticket holders from Toronto that go to Buffalo for the home games.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering what the number is. The number increased since the Bills started playing the game in Toronto. Have they gotten more season ticket holders? Is it really affected the bottom line? I'm sure they picked up a few, but I don't think the cost is really that. Is that where it's worth doing it? So, but I think Syracuse is a great. I think a preseason game easily is doable, and and I think that for people in Buffalo, I think they'd be happy because they wouldn't have to buy tickets for another preseason game that doesn't mean anything, and I think that's a good idea. So I think we both agree the time has come to leave Toronto.
Yeah.
As much as we like Toronto.
We like Toronto.
We like Toronto, but
just don't want to see the Bills.
Don't want to see the Bills play there. That's right. So we have one more topic left. It's the topic we've been talking about, not just this week, but the last couple months. We discussed it on our NFL Punt, Pass, and Chat podcast.
You remember the name, folks.
Boom! I'll take care of that.
Nice.
And the topic is the extra point. What to do with the extra point. NFL teams are making 99.2% of their extra points. And I thought it was higher, actually. I thought it was like 99.6. Like you got a fever or something, you know what I mean? And it's 99.2. And the NFL is tossing around some ideas, and I don't know whether these are legit or not, but one of the ideas is and I actually talked about this, and I don't know whether I saw it someplace and I just regurgitated it, or I actually came up with it, but the extra point is kicked, I believe, from the 2-yard line, I believe, or the one. The one or the two?
They snap it from the 2, yeah.
From the 2. So basically, it's a 19-yard field goal, if that. So it's a 19-yard kick. So my idea was move it back to the 25. Snap the ball from the 25. So that way, the ball is kicked at the 32, and with the 10 yards for the end zone, it's a 42-yard extra point. That way, most NFL kickers, if not all NFL kickers, should be able to convert a 42-yard field goal without much difficulty. But it's not as much a gimme as it was when it's obviously a 19 or 18-yarder. So I think that's a great idea. The other idea I came up with is moving the yard line for the 2-point try from the 2 to the 1. So that way you're even more tempted to go for 2 more often than maybe you want to kick 1. And you might get more 2-point tries early in the game. Maybe you're running the ball very well and you feel you can get 1 yard no problem. So guess what? You're going to go for 2 early in the game to get a big size lead. So I think it's a good idea. I understand where the kickers are coming from, but I think that the NFL has changed. Kicking has become more efficient. It's not as much as a crapshoot as it was back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and even the 70s, really. And I think since the 80s, with kickers being more specialized, that this is the reason why we're getting 99.2. So I say move it back to the 25, move the 2-point try up to the 1, and let's have some fun because it is football.
Yeah, move the extra point back so that it's in that 40 to 49 range. That most kickers in the league have a solid percentage of makes from that range. They might miss 1 or 2, but that's what's going to make this, a little more interesting. One of the things that Roger Goodell and others have said is that, it shouldn't be that easy in football. That's the problem with the extra point now is that, it's basically, it's a chip shot and it's an automatic extra point. And that shouldn't be the case. If you move it back, it totally changes, really the strategy, because even if they don't move the 2-point spot, like you were referencing from the 2-yard line to the 1, even if they keep it to the 2, teams would be compelled, I think, in some cases to say, well, given the conditions that we're facing, whether it's a windy day, snow,
right,
whatever, going for 2 points from the 2-yard line looks a lot more appealing than going for an extra point that amounts to about a 42, 43-yard field goal, whatever you want to make it. So, I think you definitely have to move the kick back. The 2-point, that doesn't really bother me as much. They could keep it where it is. They could move it up, move it back, whatever they want to do. But, in terms of the extra point kick, they definitely need to address it to make it, not so automatic. If it's in the 80 to 90% range, I'm okay with that. But 99%,
Yeah.
that's, you got to change that. It's got to be more challenging to get that extra point after a score.
Yeah, and NFL teams, I mean, especially NFL coaches, they're always very fearful of dramatic changes like this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because they feel that a coach is going to make a mistake and he's going to lose his job because of it. And I can understand that. I mean, we don't want to make mistakes and where we have to worry about losing our jobs. I'm completely, but this is sports. Rules change in sports. Games evolve over the years. Nothing is the same as it was back in 100 years ago, okay? I mean, baseball has made changes in the way that it's played. I mean, we don't see guys hitting over 400 anymore. We have relief specialists. Okay, we have instant replay now with baseball. Yes, it's still, 3 strikes and you're out and 4 balls is a walk, and okay, it's 60 feet between pitcher's mound and home plate and 90 feet around the bases. So, but we're not talking about a dramatic change in the way the NFL game is played. And I think for high schools it's fine what they're doing. I think even with colleges maybe it's fine keeping it where it is. But in the NFL, where things are so specialized, where kickers are making 99.2%, it's time for a change. Let's move it back, move the 2-point try up a yard, and have some fun playing football. So, anything else you want to add, Robert?
I'm good.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up for another week of the Citizen Sports Weekly. We appreciate you tuning in, watching our video. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everybody. We want you guys to watch and enjoy it because we have fun doing it, and we hope you guys have fun watching it. So, until next week, we'll see you later, and have a great weekend, folks.